Welcome to the episode where I interview professional organizer Samantha Pregenzer of Simply Organized. This was a really insightful interview into how she got started as a professional organizer. Hint, hint, it actually started on a blog. And how she grew her Instagram to where it is today, and other tips she would like to share with organizers that are just getting started.
You're listening to the Pro Organizer Studio podcast with Jen Obermeyer. Thank you for joining in. Jen makes it her mission to broaden the horizons of savvy businesswomen in the organizing industry by instilling confidence and inspiring authenticity. She is a devoted business coach and founder of the Inspired Organizer program. Each week, you'll gain new insight into strategies designed specifically for professional organizers. And now, let's get started.
Hello everybody, it's Jen with Pro Organizer Studio. If you are here for the interview with Samantha Pregenzer of Simply Organized in San Francisco, you are in the right place. So this is Pro Organizer Studio, and in case you don't know who I am or what Pro Organizer Studio is about, I'm Jen Obermeyer, and Pro Organizer Studio is a business and design resource specifically for professional organizers. So that's really cool if you are interested in this industry and have no idea where to start. We have lots and lots of free resources. And it's also really cool if you've been in the industry for a while, because we have services and all kinds of cool stuff to help you step up your game. So tonight we're talking with Samantha, and she has been in business for about 4 years. We're going to talk to her about her creator and the person behind the Simply Organized Instagram, which a lot of you guys are very, very well aware of. She has tons of followers. She's super cute, and she's always posting really good tips. So Simply Organized on Instagram. If you guys don't follow her yet, you need to check it out. As soon as I see my friend Samantha logged on here, I will get her hooked up on our chat. We just did a little introduction. We're talking about Sam's business story, but tonight we're really here to ask her specifically about Instagram, because this is kind of her main.
Yes, blog came before my Instagram. So, I had been blogging, been sharing ideas, and I made a move from Arkansas. We were living out of state at the time. And so before I actually started my in-person business, I was working from home on the blog, doing projects on the website. Then I made the move. When I made the move to California, back home, where I knew that I would be starting my organizing business, I really gave a hard look at all of the social platforms to try and figure out which was, based on my blog, which was probably going to be the best one for me and my audience. And that one was Instagram, because I could share a beautiful photo and also add a story or a caption below it. And it felt more similar to me. It felt very similar to my blog. And so that's why I ended up choosing it. I feel like it was just the best fit for my audience and the best fit for the type of work that I do. So that's how I ended up ultimately focusing there. And then, in terms of growing it, I'm not a big, I got to grow this numbers person. Every single number is a person behind it. Yeah. And I am so grateful that they're there to be a part of the journey and a part of the process. And really and truly, the only reason that I share is because I can't organize and reach everybody in person. And so having that feed allows me to reach a broader audience and connect. And a lot of people that are on my Instagram, they don't know I have a blog. And a lot of people that read my blog, they don't necessarily follow the Instagram. I feel like there's two different audiences sometimes. But, the way I didn't set out to grow that feed, I set out to share, be helpful, be myself. And these are people that hire me. So I'm very sensitive to their privacy as well. And so I'm very cautious about what I share, what I say, but I really just have shared genuinely. The way that I could say it may have grown is because I've been featured a couple times. Like Pottery Barn is a sort of a part of my aesthetic. And when Pottery Barn saw a project I did, they shared it. Some other bloggers have shared my stuff, or other people on Instagram have shared, and then you get like a little bit of a bump in your numbers. But I didn't really set out to grow to where it's at right now. It's just is happening naturally. And
that's awesome.
Also believe that it's not me. Like, I feel like it's a community that's building itself. And I love that people communicate with one another in the comment section. And those comments mean a lot to me. I'm the only person behind the curtains here. So I respond to every comment. It's me, I'm sitting in the carpool line, responding, laying in bed, I'm responding, it's just me connecting. And then the community has been building upon itself, which I love to see,
That is amazing. Okay. I have so many questions. I have a lot written out. My immediate thing I want to jump to, though, is kind of two parts.
Okay.
So you said it's just you, and obviously there's a lot of organizers out there who are doing their own social media, and they don't have an assistant. They don't have, they don't have somebody to help them do all this stuff. So here's my first question. And again, it's kind of two parts. Do you plan out what you're going to post in advance? Mm-hmm. And if you do, how do you work that into, like, I feel like this is like the biggest obstacle is how do you work that into actually being like at a session with a client where it is not natural to just stop and say, okay, let's make this look all pretty and take a picture real quick. Do you work it in authentically like that? Or do you set aside time before or after to get those pictures? Because that is the hardest thing I feel like that I hear from people and that I've struggled with is just like, I don't want to interrupt our flow to get a photo. And if you do, like, how do you like know for sure how you can plan out like what kinds of pictures you can get that day,
Right. So
that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. I don't take any pictures until the end. When everything's done and I leave, before I leave, because I don't just organize, I clean. So organizing is done, floors are vacuumed, counters are, cleaned off. Then, I take all the photos. And those photos are for my portfolio. And I'll probably take like 50 shots and then I'll take, one from that day. I always post on Instagram at 6 p.m. So it's at the end of my day. I don't stop mid-session to post. It happens at the end of my day when I'm at home, when I've had time to reflect on how the day went. Maybe something, I learn something from my clients every time I work for them. They're learning, but I'm learning from them. And I mean, I could get real deep here, but it's like,
I welcome it. That's awesome.
It's intimate. There's an energy, and I'm a big feeder off of energy. So anytime you read a caption, that caption is coming from a place where I was that day with that client. Or maybe something I overheard them say, or something that inspired me that I think might inspire and touch somebody else. So, and yes, I do take all my photos myself, and they're all with my iPhone. So I take photos at the end, and then I have a few hours between when I was there and when I'm home at 6 p.m. I just do a quick edit on the photo, and I add a caption and I post it. And then, that's pretty much the flow. I don't stop mid-session, only occasionally. Like if I wanted to take like a few, like if I'm in action organizing and I ask, can you just take a quick shot of me doing, XYZ, just so I have it.
So you have your client will take a picture for you?
Sometimes they do, yeah.
Okay.
If I need the help, if I have on some bigger jobs, I might have an assistant or two and I can ask them to help me do that. But yeah, for the most part, that's basically how it works. It's very simple. It's not like there's no smoke and mirrors going on over here.
Right. No, yeah, totally. So you don't really plan ahead on your feed for what kind of, pictures are kind of going to flow together. But it is clear though that you have, sorry, go ahead.
I think there's some that are planned ahead. Like they, if I have because sometimes I share stuff from my home, like I'll share of my Christmas tree, or I'll share pictures of my gate at the entry.
Your refrigerator, that's my favorite one.
Yeah. I love
that
stuff. Some of that stuff is planned. I may not have the photo until that day, but I'm thinking, oh, you know what? It's Sunday. I'm going to do my Sunday fridge. I got these new containers. I'll share that this week. But really, sometimes there'll be days in between when I post anything on Instagram, and it's because either I wasn't working or I just wasn't feeling like it was just I didn't really have anything worth sharing, or I just wanted to have social media not a part of my life for a couple of days, and I just from it. So yeah, that's how that works.
So here's another big question. I think one of the major struggles that we have as organizers is that often the work that we're doing is not glamorous and it's not happening in good lighting. Hello. It's almost always, it's I feel like that's a really big struggle is where people are ooh, I don't know what to put on my Instagram because it's this dark closet looks just as crappy after as it did before because there's not it's not conducive to that glamour shot. So do you ever do anything special for lighting, or do you try to just take pictures where there is good lighting existing?
Well, my number one tip is you got to have all the lights out. You can't shoot, and
meaning only use natural light, right?
Yeah, no, the overhead light on me right now is really bad because I'm best lighting. It's yellow. It's really warm. So I turn out all the lights so there's no lighting. And then I just make sure, my composition on the photo is good. I like to start with a good photo. So I don't it's all natural light. And then I just make sure that I'm getting a good shot. And if I have to straighten it because it's off, because, cameras naturally have an angle.
Right.
I did make sure that initial photo is good. And then it's just a matter of brightening it.
Okay. And so do you have a special app that you use or do you have a favorite app that you use, or do you like the Instagram filters themselves?
So I don't use any filters.
Okay.
I edit in the phone, the photo app itself on my iPhone.
Okay.
I play with the edits in the Instagram editor.
Okay.
I don't use filters.
Okay, cool. Have you noticed any, like, which posts of yours do best, like in terms of popularity, like before and afters, or like the product features, or the ones where you're in the photo? Like, do you notice anything like that?
The refrigerator ones are always the top, which is crazy to me.
Really? That's awesome.
Always. Always the top. It's like the refrigerator, my Sunday fridge gets thousands of likes. I think that's funny. But I think the next would be, like something wider angled. Sometimes wide angle images do better, like where you're seeing the entire space. Pantries seem to do pretty well when I share them, like a pantry or like a playroom closet. I feel like maybe a real challenge area for people might be more popular. Yeah, but definitely that fridge.
Okay. The fridge is awesome. I know. So can you tell us too about your actual, how many of your clients, like new clients, find you on Instagram or see your Instagram and decide that you're the one that they want to work with? I mean, how much of that would you attribute to your Instagram versus like other methods of how people find you, like referrals or website, that kind of thing?
So it's funny you ask, because it's only been recently that people will email me and say, I found your Instagram and I love your feed and I've been following you, because they figured out where I lived. And I'm pretty clear, my area there. I have it in my profile description.
Right.
But it's only been like in the last 6 months, I think, that I started getting people contacting me saying they follow the Instagram feed. And I think that's partly to do with locally, people are picking up on my work and they're sharing it. Like moms are connecting, and a lot of moms are on Instagram. Maybe I should step back a little bit, because I do want to emphasize my organizing focus is families. So I focus on website, and then they'll contact me through my contact page on the website. But it's only been in like the last 6 months that I've started getting people contacting me saying, I'm local to you. I found you on Instagram. That's been interesting.
That's really cool. So are you willing to talk to us a little bit about, I know you use the Like It to Know It app for a little bit of affiliate linkage, that kind of thing. Will you talk to us about some of the other ways that your Instagram helps you make money? I mean, you don't have to go too specific, but some other opportunities that have opened up because of it.
Okay, so I'm really not into, I have a couple companies that I've partnered with and they will pay me, but I am highly like sensitive to that. Like I don't even really do it on the site anymore. I really had an internal battle over sponsored posts versus sharing affiliate links to spaces that I'm actually working in. Just feels more genuine, and it is, and it feels good to me. I don't be the sock puppet for another company when Simply Organized is its own brand. So I want to be, I'm really careful about that. I have like LastPass is a company I've worked with like 4 or 5 times in the last couple years, and they have a digital, like a password organizer. It makes it works with my brand. I actually use it. It's an app that I've recommended to clients for a really long time. So when they reached out to me, that was a natural fit. So I accepted it, and they paid me for images on Instagram. But otherwise, it's just my Like to Know It affiliate program that you'll see on my posts occasionally. And those are genuinely products that were used in the client space or in my home. And I do want to emphasize that I probably make the least amount of money I'm serious. Like, I'm not a fashion person. I think, I don't know, I'm really sensitive to the way people view that. I don't want people to think I make thousands of dollars a month. I make like pennies. It is like literal pennies, because I'm sharing a product that costs $1 and I get like 2% or, whatever it is. It's the reason that I wanted to join Like to Know It is because I would share an image, and then I would get a barrage of questions. Where'd you get that? Where's that from? Where'd you get that? Where's that from? And I just thought, it's going to be a game changer. It's going to be so much easier. All someone has to do is like it, and all the details are emailed to you. And so anyway, so I set up a shop page on my website using Like to Know It.
Okay.
I make more money from the website than I do from Instagram.
Okay.
Using, having that shop page there so that people can shop from it, or maybe it's, from my blog post. But when I look at the analytics every month, every month it's the Simply Organized website that is generating the majority of that revenue. It's not my Instagram feed.
That's really interesting. So do you think that, I mean, you can tell whether your traffic is coming from Instagram or Google, or, I mean, where's the majority of your website traffic coming from? Just search?
Yeah, it's coming from Pinterest, and it's coming from Google, like native search, somebody searching for organizing or a specific space. I know that you can sort of do a deeper dive and you can actually find out the keywords that people are searching for to get to your website. I haven't done that. I've never investigated that.
And someone asked really quick, your shop page, they asked what web host you're using, but I mean.
I just set up, I'm on WordPress. And
right.
added a new page to my website under my menu bar, and I called it shop. And then on that page, I just pulled over the products from, so on my end, it's called Reward Style, but on your end, it's called Like to Know It. So I pulled in, products from Reward Style that I've used in spaces, or the ones that I would they're my go-to products. And created the shop page from that. And it was simply a matter of just adding all the images and the links. They make it pretty easy.
Okay. And so really one of the huge benefits for you is that this is just a convenient way for you to answer questions versus making a lot of money. Yeah.
I'm being completely honest. I'm not making a lot of money doing it. I feel like the fashion influencers and the real home decor interior designer types are probably making great money, but I'm not, because I'm selling, the stuff that I'm sharing, it's dollars. It's not, it's not like $1,000 handbag.
Exactly.
I'm selling the hanger for the and it's like $5, right? So.
Exactly. It's so practical, and that must feel good to be sharing things that really are helpful in people's lives rather than cluttering up their closet
about WordPress. I am on WordPress. I've been on WordPress for just over 2 years, and I do pay for my web host, and I'm not remembering their name right off the bat, but it's not very much money to host your own website. It's like, I think I pay annually, and it's like less than $100.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, is there anything else that you can tell us about Instagram? I know you said, okay, well, everybody hates you now because they're like, so you got 100,000 followers without even trying, because you weren't really trying to grow it. But like, are there any other tips you can share? I know you said getting reposted or reblogged by other big accounts. I mean, that is a huge thing. Are there any other tips you can share about like things that you really feel like just boosted you forward or propelled you forward, like with your following?
With Instagram. So, I am a believer. I don't like using that word authentic because I think it's really getting overplayed, but it's true. I mean, I gave that speech, in our first live intro of 3, when I spoke, when I was the keynote at the Professional Organizers in Canada, I was speaking about, the power of you. I was inspiring those organizers that you can find your own niche within this profession by being yourself. Everybody is a unique person. Everybody has innate talents. Don't ignore those. And so if we're going to talk about Instagram, it's kind of, I look at it as the same thing. I am infusing my personality, but also clients, experiences and the challenges they face. I'm pairing it with a beautiful photo. I think that helps when I get messages I'm telling you, I just got one. I think it was this morning or yesterday morning. I was laying in bed at 5 o'clock. I get a direct message. These are my favorite because it makes me know I'm doing good when somebody messages me and they say, "You're real. I love following you because you're real." And that is exactly who I am. I am real, and I don't ever want to be this phony trying to grow and get numbers and, all of that. I'm just trying to genuinely reach people, and that is being felt on the other end. So I think being yourself, following your passion, not paying attention to the things around you. Like I put on the blinders. I don't, if there's somebody negative that I'm sensing I don't pay any attention. Yeah. I really just am trying to do good work. I'm trying to do legacy work, to be totally honest with you. I'm not trying to just do it. Like I'm trying to actually make an impact, make a difference. I'm trying to have work that I can look back on and feel really good about. And having this community is the same thing to me. I feel like I love this community so much. So I think, that in my opinion is a great way. And it doesn't matter. I think maybe if you're not trying to grow it is probably the better thing to do, right?
Yes, I can understand that because people can kind of sense when you're doing something inauthentically.
Within the first line of some caption, I can be like, oh.
Yeah, So we all love your Instagram stories too. And I know that there are going to be some people who don't know the difference between the stories and the feeds. So stories are like the Instagram answer to Snapchat, where you have like your video where you can talk like to the camera. You can show something like really quick, little snapshot. We've seen like a lot of like your little day in the life things, which are really fun, and getting to like hear your voice and, rather than just seeing a picture of you. I mean, I think people really love that. I mean, do you get a lot of responses when you post a story? Like, people direct message you or like, that was hilarious, or
yeah,
I totally agree. Yeah.
People, I don't like to be on camera, but sometimes I just get in a mood and I'm like, I'm in it. I gotta do something. And yeah, I'll just post in the moment. But I just like to have fun with it and and connect. And then people they respond, and it's so great to connect with everybody. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm alone a lot, right? A lot of, I would say, I've gotten to a point in my business where like I was in a closet for the last 2 days, and she was there, the mom was there for probably 2 hours. And then I'm like, okay, bye. Like, all I need her to do is just help me pick the things out that aren't staying. And then I predetermined a budget that I'm going to spend on product if we need it. And then I don't need her around. And I actually, as much as I don't love to be around people and like have a good time and stuff, sometimes when I'm in my zone, it's better for them not to be there. And so I've kind of built my business around that, where I don't really need you there unless we're picking stuff out that's not going to stay. Then I need you there. But otherwise, I need you there.
Totally agree. Those are my favorite jobs, is they trust me to do my thing, because then you get like 3 times as much done, and
real quick.
Oh my gosh. I'm so with you on that one. Yeah. Okay. So I want to throw it back to you and let you answer some of the questions that that you get all the time. Like, going back to, I know you mentioned the pricing thing, or just some other things that come to your mind right now that you're like, I get questions about this constantly. Like, just talk to us about, some of those decisions that you've made in your business. And
okay. So, well, the one question I get all the time is, how did I get started? And the one answer, the only thing I can say is, you just have to get started. Just have to, girl, do it. Like, yes. Get out there, put yourself out there, tell people that you are interested in, do it for free or do it for $25 an hour. Like, start somewhere and let yourself be exposed to everything, because you never know where your heart will end up in this profession until you're exposed to it. I worked under a couple organizers. I joined NAPO probably 6 months after I started my business. And then some of the NAPO organizers, we have like a forum that's private to us that I could go to and locally. And a few of them, they'll once a week, they'll go in and say, I need an assistant here, and this is the type of work I do. I need an assistant here. So on the weekends, I would go and try out different types of organizing. And that's a quick answer to figure out if you like it or not, because you're in it and you're working with the expert. This one couple that I worked for, both of the homeowners had passed away. I think the wife had died first, then the husband passed away, and they were doing a total clean out of a house for the kids. And the kids were all in their 50s and stuff, but there was so much stuff. And I was like, I cannot do this. I don't know how you guys do this every day. I stuck out the project. I was there the whole weekend. It was real tough. And I figured out quickly that is just not the niche for me. And, I think putting yourself in those situations to experience that and connect with the expert who had hired you, that's great. And plus, you're just going to learn in general. You're going to learn no matter what job you're on, you're going to learn something that will ultimately affect the niche you do end up in. So I think putting yourself out there, I wrote a little while for a local Moms Club newsletter. And my niche is, to answer your question, Natalie, is I work with families and children. So that's sort of my niche, and so everything within that. And so, I think that's like the biggest question I get. And I know it's frustrating to hear me say, you just have to get out there and do it, but that's legitimately the only way. You could potentially reach out to another organizer who's hiring, but I really cannot emphasize enough that you need to let them know right away that you're thinking of eventually starting your own business. You don't want to go work for an organizer and learn, and they're putting in all that time. Like, I'm trying to build a team right now. I cannot find anyone who doesn't want to start their own business. And I'm real sensitive to the work I do. So I'm looking to build a team of people that want to work for Simply Organized. So if you could just be honest with that organizer, maybe they'll be like, okay, I'll take you in for a couple months and show you. But that's another option to get started. I think you don't have to join a professional organization like NAPO. You can just pay a one-time fee to attend their monthly meeting. I think like to attend the San Francisco Bay Area chapter meetings that I attend and I'm a member of are, I think it's like $25 or $30 to come. And it's 2 or 3 full hours because they do a dinner before and you can just network and get to know people and, yes, go Giants. So yeah, I think that's like one of the biggest questions. Let me think of another question because I feel like I get them all the time. Some of them are more like business specific, which is hard to answer because let's just make it clear that I am not a business person. Like I am like the worst. I was just talking to someone today about my QuickBooks account. I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm just not great at that. And the business side of my business is the hardest part. I just want to do the work, but I have to do the business side too. And it's really hard. So, that's another thing to think about when you're just getting started is when you have the downtime and it's slow is a good time to be thinking about your workflow, what you want, are you going to be on QuickBooks? Are you going to, there's other FreshBooks. There's like all these different types of invoicing systems. Yeah, because I'm not good at that.
I know there's
not good at that. Like, and then, okay, so now let's talk about pricing because since we're talking about invoicing, how I started was nobody, for some reason, it's this big like hush hush. You cannot talk about what you charge per hour in this world of organizing. And I think it depends on where you live. When I first started, I was charging $40 an hour. And I think I stayed at $40 an hour for the first year, which was probably much longer than I should have stayed. But I had to try it all out. And I felt like I was not worth more yet. I was getting there. I was learning, but I wasn't worth more than $40 an hour. I probably could have bumped it up a little bit. And then after a year, I started scaling it little by little. And now after doing the work for 5 years, I am almost 100% flat rate on my projects. If I need to go hourly, it's because it's a one-off, like I'm coming back to do something, or I feel like the client might not be able to work within that time frame that I could quote a flat rate. So I do offer hourly if I feel I have to feel out the client to make that decision. But for the most part, all of my projects are quoted by the space and it's flat rate. So that's where I'm at with that. And it just really took the time and experience to get to that point. I can look at a room now because I've been doing this so long. I can walk in, I can look at a closet and I can say, like the closet, for example, I was in this week, I knew I would be roughly 8 hours total and I would be there over 2 days. So I factor that in. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be purging. I'm going to shop in between. I went to the Container Store after the first day. So that was like, 30 minutes of my time. And then I came back the next day and I put it all away, so roughly around that time, I can say it's going to take me 8 hours and I would quote accordingly based on that. So I think it's just that sort of pricing comes with experience and you'll get there, it's just, and, I spoke at my chapter meeting for my Bay Area NAPO chapter meeting last month because people wanted to know how I made that jump. They wanted to know specifics and why I did it. The why is because I felt like some of my clients were, if I say, okay, and I'm, $100 an hour, just say, for example, they would be like, whoa, how many hours? Like, is this just open-ended thing? And I'm like, no. Like, we'll book like 3 hours at a time or 4 hours at a time, we'll do it within your budget. But I just felt like it was a close-ended, yep, this is how much it's going to cost to get your closet done. And this is the entire scope of work is defined in my client contract with them. So they know exactly what to expect from me. And this is the price. And it just, I felt like the pressure came off. It was less pressure, easier. And I don't charge for supplies unless it's a product that I am bringing in for the client. And I do not charge an up fee on any product. And I also try to organize around a sales cycle because I go to the Container Store most of the time because I'm pretty much guaranteed for the most part, they're going to have the product. And I really try to follow the sales so that it makes sense for the client to just purchase. It's just easier because they don't want to pay me to go run around to every Home Goods in the area to track down those bins. They're going to pay me more in the end if I did that. The contract is all done before I arrive. They have to agree. Like today I was sitting in my office. I quoted out 2 different families. I send them the quote first. If they agree to it, then I send them my contract and everything's signed before I get started. So I don't bring any paperwork with me. When the Container Store is out of stock on supplies, then I typically either just leave a hole in the spot where it's going to be until the product comes in. But where I'm at in my business right now, and I'm so grateful for it. I'm booking out like 2 and 3 weeks out. So I will then order accordingly so that I have it in hand. Like if I have a feeling that's the product we're going to go with, I'll place my order and I pick everything up. I really try not to walk into that store whenever possible. I shop online. I have the order ready for pickup. I drive in through the drive-through pickup. I pick up everything. So because it's done in advance, I'll typically have the product on hand. How did you create your contract? That's a good one. I hired an attorney, and I absolutely recommend you do the same. So my contract is specific to my business. Yes, the Walnut Creek Container Store. That is my store. And I just started, I'm their new contained home representative in Walnut Creek. My contract was created by my attorney, and we spent 2 hours on the phone. She took a deep dive into finding out what type of business I would do, what type of services I offer. Do I bring in subcontractors? I'm hanging stuff on the walls. And, so there's a lot of liability that comes into play. Plus I'm in somebody's home. So there has to be, clauses in there about, if something goes missing, something gets broken, so I had to literally like lay everything out on the table with her. And then she left for a couple weeks, drafted the contract, sent it to me for review. And so it's custom to my business. I cannot recommend doing that enough. It was more than worth the amount of money. And my attorney she has a podcast. She's incredible. And I'm going to give her a shout out right now. Her name is Autumn Witt Boyd. And her podcast is called The Legal Roadmap, I believe. And she is an incredible attorney. I'm working with her right now on trademarking business names, and she's been exceptional. She's great. I do collect 50% deposit up front, and then 50% of my time, and then whatever job materials come through, at the end. But up front, people are paying me because, having that deposit covers my time. A lot of what I do is design and conceptualization and trying to, like I said, if I'm at the Container Store and I need to grab bins because I have a feeling they're going to work in that pantry or in the closet, I'm already thinking about them and shopping for them so that I have that time covered. So to become a contained home organizer, what happened was I have been in my local Container Store is Walnut Creek, and I know every employee in that store because I've been doing this for so long. They all know me. A position became available in contained home, and the area manager heard about me from the store employees, and they reached out and asked. That was my story behind it. I literally just finished training last Thursday, so I'm brand new to it. I don't know what to expect, but I'm sure if you want to contact your local Container Store, then they might be able to tell you if there's an opening for that. But they're very, I think the fact that I have such a great camaraderie with that store and all of their employees, it just seemed like a good fit. And I really gave a lot of thought before I said yes, because I'm not like giving up my business or anything to do it. I'm an independent professional organizing company, but I feel like it's sort of like, I don't know who I'm going to end up with. I don't know what population is going to come through. And they assured me it's probably going to be pretty similar to the current families that I work with. So check with your local store. Okay. Do you make much less per hour working with the Container Store versus your own? I am. So a little bit less, but you earn a commission on the product. So it's going to more than make up for the difference, I think. I'm just getting started. I just had my first call today with my first client from the Container Store, and we're doing a garage, of course. I was like, well, you called the right person because that's what I do. I love garages. So it'll work out in the end financially. Yes, her name is Autumn Witt Boyd, and I'll type it in at the end. For my business insurance, I contacted my homeowner's insurance, and they referred me to the correct insurance company under their umbrella that would help me get the right insurance in place. So I did that. And then I had to get additional insurance when I joined the contained home program. So on my automobile and stuff, I had to have like over $1 million on my car, and which I didn't have. But a handy woman, yes, I do a lot of the installations myself, and I love it.
If you classify yourself as a handy woman and you do installing, what is the scope of what you offer in that department, and how does that affect your liability?
Okay. Well, I'm insured. I have a lot of insurance to be able to do that. And I would only do something that I know I'm highly skilled enough to do the correct way. The installing that I do is like I hang the Alpha systems. I hang other like types of wall systems, like if it's a modular type of a system, just making sure that it's secured to the wall, because when you're first of all, in the Bay Area, everything needs to sort of be earthquake proof. So like, and then anything with kids, we try and, make sure that it's wall mounted. And just like hanging things in general, I think professional organizers really should learn how to hang stuff because it's everything. I mean, I'm able to do everything and I'm not having another person and the homeowner. I love to see the look on a mom's face when all their photos have been propped up against a wall for months and I come in and we just like hang them up and they're like, this is incredible. These things have been collecting dust on the floor for months. I like offering like extra little services to people, but I would say that the scope of my work with hanging would be all related to organizing and some home decor. And I only will do something that I absolutely feel confident I have the skills to do. If I don't, I have a handyman that I subcontract with, and he is meticulous and exceptional, and I would not work with anybody else. And I can call him in a pinch and say, I'm here at this address. Can you come out? And he's there and he can help the homeowner get stuff done. You got to have a good handyman on board.
That's amazing. That's a really good tip. That is a really good tip.
Yeah, my handyman is my guy. I told him he cannot retire. I'm like, no, you are the only handyman for me. Okay, let's see. Can you walk us through a client calls and then what? Do you go see? How long in advance do you shop? Okay, so when a client reaches out, so if it gets to the point where I'm doing a consult in person, I'll come in and I'll see everything and I'll take in the space and then I'll come home and think about it and quote it out. If we decide to work together, I'll give them a quote. But for the majority of my clients now, what I'm trying, it just saves me time and it saves them time. And I was feeling like to be honest, I was losing money because I kept going to see everybody and not working. That it helps for me to set like maybe even just that initial time I come over, it's a 2-hour session. So, okay, we're going to talk on the phone. I'm going to offer you a free phone consultation. We'll talk for 30 minutes or so. But then when I'm out, it's billable time. So I'm there. We'll say we're going to start for 2 hours and we'll start purging an area, or I'll start taking measurements for a closet, or, but that's how I structure that. And the amount of time in advance that I shop, it just depends on the project. I mean, there's no real answer. I can't really answer that like black and white because it just depends on what we're doing.
Yeah. Let me ask you a controversial question.
Okay.
So you mentioned that, yes, so I was a member of NAPO my first year and then I quit. I'm a dropout. We've got a lot of other dropouts in the group and a lot of girls who are in it. And then there's other girls who have not been in it. Yep. Okay. And you mentioned that there is definitely that whole like hush hush thing around pricing. I am a big advocate of putting your pricing on your website so there are not any surprises and there's not any question from the get-go that you are on the same page with each other. So did you always have your pricing on your website like you do now? And like, did you struggle with switching over, or did you initially like have people call you and then you tell them how much you charge?
Yeah. So when people would call, so I haven't even checked, to be honest, I haven't even looked at my website pricing. I'm sure it's not accurate, but it might be a ballpark. But yeah, what I would do is just tell somebody over the phone, this is generally what my rate is, but I kind of need to see, like right now where I'm at in my business, I need to come out and, scope it and give you a flat rate. And yeah, so I have no problem sharing my pricing on my website. I feel like it gives clients a good idea if I'm the right budget point for them. But then the other thing to keep in mind is because 99% of my business is word of mouth referrals, my work speaks for itself. So people are willing to pay because they know not only is the organizing going to get done, but XYZ and beyond is also going to be completed. I haul away everything. All donations are taken care of and I get a tax receipt. Yeah. Everything's recycled. Everything's done, environmentally friendly. I leave the space, not just the space I organized, but the space around it completely cleaned, tidy. And it's a relationship that I'm creating with these families. So yeah, in your work ethic, if that shows, and say, for example, I did a closet and it cost, $800 just to throw a number out there, that mom's going to say, oh, she came in and did my closet. It was about $800. Somebody can make a decision in that moment if they want to do that or not. They want to contact me. But I really think you get to a point where the work is speaking for itself and people they want it done right, and they want the expert. So be the expert in your niche, and be the expert and let it show in your work ethic. Be kind, non-judgmental, sensitive, all the things that you want to be in someone's home.
Yes.
confidentiality is everything. You know, the town I live in is really tiny. The surrounding area, obviously the Bay Area is big, but the town I live in, I wouldn't have another job if I even, you know, said it to somebody else about the home I was in. So, you know, creating trust with people is everything. And then I think your pricing, people are willing to pay because they know they're going to get an excellent output and they're working with the expert and everybody's happy.
So speaking of niches or niches, you mentioned a second ago, here's Cheryl asked, do you ever refer people who are not a good fit for your niche? Do you refer them to somebody else?
Yes, I do. And I have great, not only if they're not in my general area, like I feel that the area that I've carved out, like I said, it's like 6 or 7 cities. And I sort of stick to that because I know that in a pinch, when I'm done, I know exactly where I'm going to drop my donations. I know exactly, I'm going to run to the Container Store before I go to the carpool line. If somebody contacts me from San Jose, which is an hour away from me, I have an amazing professional organizer that is similar to what I do down there, and I would refer to her. If someone calls me from like the Marin area, like the North Bay, then I have somebody I could refer out there. And then also, if it just doesn't feel like a good fit in general, the number one thing you need to remember is you don't want to harm the situation more. Your job is to make it better and not make it worse. So if you get a sense that it's not going to be a good fit, don't work for them.
Don't try.
Like, trust me, I've taken on clients and I kick myself later. I'm like, Sam, you had every red flag in the book.
Yeah.
Why did you do it? Like, duh. So I've learned the hard way. And it's so hard to say no to people, especially when you're just starting out and you feel like, it's my only job and I don't know when the next one's going to come. And, you know, let it go. Let it go. Like, it's going to be fine. It'll be great. You'll get another client, but you want to do the least amount of harm. And if your gut is firing, listen to it and walk away and refer them out.
I agree with that, ladies. That's awesome advice. So Sam, when it comes down to it, what would you say is your number one tip for someone starting in the organizing business today?
My number one tip would be,
out of all these tips, other than just get started, is there anything you wish you could just go back and say to yourself?
I would just say, again, doing and trying it all and really letting yourself experience being uncomfortable. Put yourself in those uncomfortable situations and it's going to grow you. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you a stronger business owner. Like I said in that Instagram post and my Instagram story about being on this interview with you, I feel like a lot of the days I am winging it big time. Like, it's okay. Like, I went and saw a home last week. There's like 10 different spaces in her home where she needs to be organized. I don't know how to quote that. And I'm faced with new challenges all the time in my business. And I'm like, okay, well, let's try this and see if this works, you know. And you know, if you need to have someone to bounce the ideas off, that's a good idea to do that too. But I feel like just putting yourself out there and being uncomfortable and doing all the things is a great way to get started and a great way to quickly figure out what you do well. But I do believe that everybody has that one natural talent, and don't ignore it. Like, I almost wasn't going to do any handiwork in my business because I was afraid. I'm so glad that I didn't ignore that. And I just went with it because it's such a huge part of my business and it's something I love doing, and I get excited. I don't get frustrated. I don't get resentful. I feel like I think organizers tend to like, oh, well, this is the popular trend. This is what I'm going to do. Well, that's only going to last you so long if that's not your natural talent, like, or it's not something that you're naturally excited about. Do the things you're excited about and your clientele will find you if you're doing it, because you're meant to be doing that and people are going to see that in you and you'll get more clients, more word of mouth referrals. So that would just be another tip. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all this.
This is so fun. Talk organizing all day.
I know. Do you have a favorite like client's story or even just a favorite job that you ever did that could be just kind of something that is kind of inspiring to, and I've got a lot of girls in my group, for example, who are like, I want to do this. I feel like I need a little bit of a fire lit under me. Like, I feel nervous about so many things, but sometimes I feel like when they catch hold of like this inspiring moment and they're like, I know that I can do that too. Like, I would love for you to give them that kind of like, oh, like the angels sang at this moment in your business.
Oh my gosh, that's tough to answer.
I know that's a big question.
That is a big one. I mean, I think I feel like the first real complete install that I did by myself was a big moment for me because I just want to do it all. You know, eventually I won't be able to because there's going to be too many to do. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think that, and then I think I've had, you know, a couple high profile clients that I was blown away that they even wanted to work with me. And I was like, what? Like me? You know,
That's awesome.
Those feelings where it's like, okay, this is really going somewhere. And I feel really proud and excited. But yeah, I would say the things that make me feel good are when I get those text messages. This is probably the best answer, right?
Okay.
At the end of the day, like, you know, you've been organizing for this mom and she's exhausted, and then she finally like gets her kids to bed, and then she crawls into bed herself, and maybe her husband comes home and sees this amazing new organized space and sees the wife just like so relieved, like a sense of relief. And they'll start texting me at night, like 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, or I'll start getting text messages. And I screenshot those all the time to look back on when I'm having a really crappy day.
Yeah.
It just reminds me why I'm doing it. And I really love hearing. And I also love hearing when they reach out to me and say, you'll be so proud of me. Like, I've done a project for people, and then a couple months later, they'll message me and say, guess what I did? I did this closet all by myself. And I followed your directions that we did the last time we were here, and I did it all by myself. And I love that. I don't want people to have to pay me to come back all the time. I want them to do it themselves. I want to teach them so they can handle it. So those are always good messages that make me feel good too.
Well, that is awesome. And so just fitting, I mean, I know you said like at the beginning, like you could get really deep on this stuff. I could too. Yeah. I feel like so happy just to tell other girls or other women, you know, that are like obsessed with organizing. I'm like, there are people who need you like desperately. Yeah. And I know that it seems overwhelming to like turn that skill into a business, but like it is so much more than just a business. It's like it becomes like your life, like your personal culture. And it's all about like, you know, who you are and the people you help and the relationships you're creating and what you believe about what you're doing. And so like, to me, there is no better like side hustle, and then it can become your full-time job. I mean, it's so fulfilling. It's very satisfying.
It really is. There's so many different organizing jobs that you can do within the field. I mean, there's now an organization for photo organizers.
Yes.
Bring it, because I don't want to do photos. I don't want to do or photos. And when there's people that do just photos in their business, and I love that. I think that is such a huge need. I don't think there's enough photo organizers in the world.
I agree. I have not seen many of those.
Yeah, there are so many different, really investigate them all. There's so many. There's in our NAPO chapter that they only do bookkeeping organizing. You know, they're bookkeeping types. There's the type that just do feng shui organizing.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I'm like, wow, I didn't know all these niches existed. Like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know. And that's what is so cool about it. It's like you have to figure out what your thing is, and you put your flag in the ground and you build your business and your clientele around that. So, okay. This could go on and on and on. We could talk for a whole nother hour, but I have to ask you one more thing.
Let's go. All night.
You have all night. This is past my bedtime. You have Evernote training that you do remotely. Like that's one of the ways that you can work with somebody who is not in your area. And this is kind of a little bit of a hot topic in our community, you know, talking about virtual organizing, or any way basically you could work with a client that is not local to you. So do you have any little tips or happy stories about that? Like, I mean, Evernote obviously must be a skill of yours.
Yeah, well,
you can teach. Yeah.
Me for sure. Yeah, so there's 2 different levels of Evernote certification, and I did not meet that upper level, which is to actually be a certified Evernote consultant, because in order to have that certification, you have to work with businesses of 10 or more people. And I don't do business organizing, so I automatically didn't fall into that category. But in January, I was invited to Evernote's headquarters. They're based here in the Bay Area. We did a live Facebook interview from their headquarters, and the guy doing the interview said, hey, you ought to try the Evernote community leader. I think that might be a better thing for you. So I applied.
Okay.
Go through that training. It's called Evernote Community Leader. And that fits better with what I do. And so then, you know, I already sort of knew the basics of Evernote because I did, in fact, use it all the time. But I definitely learned a lot more about how robust that platform is and all the ways it can help you. And it made sense for me to go to training because I'm trying to work with moms on better systems. You know, you can use it for anything. You could have, for example, like all the measurements in your home, or, you know, like you've been looking for this one desk for this one wall. Okay, well, put the measurements in your Evernote, or put all your meal plans in your Evernote, put your grocery shopping list in your Evernote. Nobody's ever without their phone. So
exactly.
you will have Evernote, you will have the answer on hand. I'm the worst at memorizing numbers. So I have a lot of numbers in there, like insurance information, you know, and it's all secured. Like I don't have to worry someone's going to tap in and steal my information. Just like when you're in the moment and you're having to fill out like a medical form for one of your kids and you don't have that. Yeah, it's been great. And then just being able to share it with other people. I mainly am teaching people how to use it in person.
Okay.
But that is a great way to add a service to your, you know, service offerings. If you can, you know, set up all your technology to do the training online, that's great.
Without any technical issues.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that happens even to the best of us. Well, that's really cool too, because yes, I think there's a lot of people out there who are interested in adding some type of service that is not based on their physical ability, where they're located, you know, and I know that's really a matter of, again, it goes back to growing an audience outside of just who's in your, you know, 20-mile range of your city. But like, that's something that social media can help you do, which is another, you know, it kind of all circles back around. So the last question I'm seeing, I think this will be our last question for the night, is tell us about your first job. I asked you to tell us about your best job. Tell us about your first job.
My first job was, obviously I'll never forget it, this sweet mom. At the time she had just one baby. Now she has 3. She lived in a really old home and it was a big like overflow sort of closet in their living room. And it was packed. Like I should come back in and link the client project here so you can go back and see it. But I mean, it was
please do, that would be fun.
Packed with so much stuff. The after is unbelievable. And it took me forever because it was my first real job for someone paying me that I didn't know. And, you know, because it was such a large variety of items, I was completely thrown. I'm like, how am I going to contain it all? How am I going to fit it all back in? Is she going to get rid of stuff? You know, it was stressful, but
yeah,
that was the first job I did. And I was blown away. Like we got everything out. It was all just like wood and we had it all painted white. So it was like super bright and not dark anymore. And she created a little desk and she added a lamp and we added like some wall mounted stuff. And it was beautiful. But
that is super cool.
That was a job.
I love that you have pictures that you can share of that, because that will be very inspiring too.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for sharing so much with us, Sam, and for answering a lot of Q&A on the fly. And I appreciate you giving us, you know, the opportunity that you have to answer some of those questions that you don't normally get the chance to answer. So if you guys are, again, just learning about Sam, just meeting Sam for the first time, you can find her online in many places. First on Instagram at Simply Organized, on her website, which is simplyorganized.me. And of course on Facebook, she has a fabulous Facebook page as well. And if you guys are just finding Pro Organizer Studio for the first time tonight because you are one of Sam's fans, please come join us. We have lots of resources for starting your business, for growing your business, for figuring out all those business questions that you might have along the way. Because we're also perfectionistic. We want it to be exactly right the first time. So we have lots of people to help you with the things that you're not great at, so you can do the things you are good at, which, like Sam, you love the organizing. You're obsessed with that part of the job. So thank you again for being here. And please share this with a friend who is obsessed with organizing that did not know that organizing professionally is a real legit thing, because it totally is. It's the best business out there. And it's totally doable too for, you know, so many of us, like, you know, wherever you are in life. So thank you again, Sam. And thank you everybody for being here.
Thank you, everybody, for all the great questions and for being so supportive. I love seeing all your comments come up and I wanted to answer every single one. So I'm going to make back for those.
Thank you so much for giving so much of your time to us.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Yay! Yay! All right. Have a great night. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Pro Organizer Studio podcast. If you'd like to learn more about time-saving services and resources for professional organizers, visit www.proorganizerstudio.com. And if you'd like to get Jen's roadmap to success for launching and growing your professional organizing business, go straight to www.proroadmap.com.